We're all set? Good evening and welcome to the Garfield Heights City School District regular board meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. I call tonight's meeting to order. Mr. Oko, can I have roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Isom, Miss King,
Here.
Miss Morrison,
Here.
Miss Thomas, Mrs. Daniels.
Here. At this time, can I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, please?
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Mr. Oko, that was moved by Ms. Morrison and second by Ms. King. Can I roll call, please?
Miss Morrison,
Yes.
Miss King,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. At this time, we will have our moment of silent reflection and our Pledge of Allegiance led by our Board Vice President, Malek King. At this time, moment of silence. Ms. King?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. King. At this time, can I have a motion to approve the minutes that's outlined in agenda item 2.1? And that includes our regular board meeting of May 15, 2023, and the special board meeting of May 22nd, 2023, as presented.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, Mr. Oko, that was moved by Ms. King and second by Ms. Morrison. Can we have roll call, please?
Miss King,
Yes.
Miss Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. At this time, we will have our board president report. Summer is upon our school district, and I would like to congratulate the students and staff of the Garfield Heights City Schools on completing the school year safely and successfully. Those who were in attendance on the evening of June 1st know how very special our commencement ceremony was at the Cleveland Public Hall. Me and Heather had graduates. Yay! On behalf of the entire Board of Education, we wish the graduating class of 2023 all the best in their future endeavors. Maintain your tenacity and try to change the world one person at a time with your time, your talents, and your treasures. Great job to everyone. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Daryl Copeland, who was awarded GHTA's Teacher of the Year Award for his excellence in the profession of education and his longevity in service. Mr. Copeland has worked in the Garfield Heights City Schools since 1996 as an amazing 27-year career thus far. He is a trusted mathematics teacher at the Garfield Heights Middle School, and he also coaches in the district. He has also coached in the district for many years. He currently serves as the baseball coach. Most importantly, Mr. Copeland is an example of someone who lives in the community and works in the community as a proud resident and teacher of the Garfield Heights of the city of Garfield Heights. We extend our gratitude to all of our teachers and staff members, and when one emerges as Teacher of the Year, we pay a special tribute. Congratulations, Mr. Copeland. Finally, Dr. Reynolds and I recently had the distinct opportunity to attend the recent Cramwood Block meeting. I would like to sincerely thank the Cramwood Block organizers for their hospitality and their willingness to invite the school district to have a productive discussion. They provided a welcome environment and gave both Dr. Reynolds and I an opportunity to collaborate and to be transparent. We look forward to future meetings, engagements, and correspondence with the Cramwood Group. Please know that any of us, as board members or Dr. Reynolds, are available at any time to come and address your community organizations. It will be our pleasure. With that, I will conclude my report. Have a safe and enjoyable summer break. That concludes my report. Is there any questions regarding the board president report today? If there's no questions or comments regarding the board president's report, we will move to our committee reports at this time. Is there any committee reports?
Madam President,
Ms. King.
I have a legislative committee and liaison report.
Ms. King.
This evening, the legislative committee met and we are proposing a potential resolution expressing the district's support to fulfill Ohio's constitutional mandate to fund a thorough and efficient public school system. We met as a subcommittee today. We're going to run the resolution through our lawyer and bring it to the full board. But just to give you, give the board a outline, there are basically three sections. One, this is all around House Bill 33. One section has to do with fully funding the school district through the Fair Schools Funding Plan. The second part is around vouchers. With the backpack bill, they are, the way the bill is currently written, there would be a increase in the number of individuals that will be eligible for vouchers, which means we could potentially lose more students, and they will be going to entities that do not have the structures in place to, well, not structures in place, but they're not mandated to report anything financially or academically. There's no parameters set for that. And the third part is that we are against the State Board of Education being moved up underneath the governor's office, because they're essentially being stripped of all of their duties and responsibilities. So please look forward to a resolution at next month's meeting for us to look at and potentially adopt. Also, in terms of HB 33, the Senate passed their version of the bill, and it will go into conference committee because the Senate and the state, or the Senate and the House are they're too far apart. So it's going to go into conference committee to reconcile differences between the House and the Senate. The House Primary and Secondary Education Committee passed House Bill 8, which is the Parental Rights Bill, or Parental Rights Bill, requiring public schools to adopt a policy on parental notification regarding student health and well-being and instructional materials with sexually explicit content. And the last one that I will highlight is the State Board passed a resolution that increases the third grade ELA cut scores from 685 to 690 for the 2023-2024 school year. The cut score is what's used to determine promotion to the fourth grade. And with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. King. Is there any questions or comments regarding her report this evening? I think the only comment I would just like to make is as it relates to, first, thanks to the committee for drafting the resolution on behalf of the Board of Education, positioning us on where we stand on things that we believe is impactful to the students of the Garfield Heights City School District, in particular relative to the vouchers in our position. I do not object to school choice. I just would like to see equitable oversight and accountability. And I hope as the state of Ohio moves forward in the backpack bill, that the taxpayers demand equitable oversight and accountability of their tax dollars to all schools that are funded by the public. So I'm personally in opposition myself, as I do believe in school choice, but with my tax dollars, I do want to see equitable oversight and accountability. And I think people need to understand that these are your tax dollars, just like the monies that come through the school district, and we just want to make sure that it's equitable. So thank you guys for drafting that and putting a voice on behalf of not just the students, but that voucher piece is a voice on behalf of the taxpayers in Garfield Heights. So thank you guys for drafting that piece.
You're welcome.
Is there any other reports this evening? Do you have any, Ms. Morris?
Do not.
Thank you. At this time, we have a presentation from Teaching and Learning. We have Ms. Gina Bazier that will be coming up to give the Board of Education an update. Ms. Bazier?
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education, Mr. Pat and Mr. Oko. Pleasure to present this evening for Teaching and Learning. It's been a great year. We were happy to see all the amazing things that worked with our students this year, our teachers, our administrators, our staff, and we're looking forward to next year. But I want to give you a little bit of an overview of what we did this year and lead you into where we're going next year with some of our work. As always, every child, every day together. The portrait of a graduate is at the forefront of our minds. We're always working to strive to make sure that each child receives this attention they need as a portrait of a graduate for Garfield Heights City Schools. With the strategic plan in mind and our priorities and our goals, Teaching and Learning is always working to make sure we're improving the things that we say we're doing in the strategic plan. We're improving progress with math and reading. We are providing opportunities for engaging assignments, collaboration, and whatnot with our students, deeper learning with problem solving, and also making sure that they have career opportunities and things to look at in exploration as they're moving forward to those years to graduation. This year we centered a lot of our big work around these three things. Standards, assessment, and instruction. Standards obviously being making sure that our teachers are understanding the rigor and relevance of the standards and making sure they have the opportunity to embed that into their scope and sequence work. Assessments are thorough, formative, summative. All the data we're looking at, we're having data-informed decision making when we're structuring our lessons with our students, and making sure that we are always collaborating and creating an environment for learning with our students. That being said, we used a couple different things to support this model throughout the school year, because we believe every student deserves a great teacher, not by chance, but by design. Some of our big work this year was around the Teacher Clarity Playbook. This book, every staff member, every teacher in our district received this book, and this was the big work of our professional development this year. It began with our principals. Each week they would come to principal PLCs, their professional learning communities, here at the board office, and we would work to address what the work was in this book with them so that they were prepared to support it with their staff. So we started the intentional learning with our administrators first. We want them to build their instructional leadership capacity in the buildings, and we wanted them to feel comfortable leading this work when they were back in the buildings with their teachers. We had 7 monthly PD days for the staff this year. Those were full days of learning and education around this work. We embedded the work, we collaborated around the work, and we made sure that teachers had an opportunity to practice the work together and talk through their teams with each of the things that they were endeavoring under this line of instruction implicitly and teaching with them. We had instructional staff meetings as well. So there were 2 staff meetings enlisted this year. One was a regular staff meeting, and then one was an instructional staff meeting. So led by the guidance of the instructional leaders, the principals in the buildings, and also the coaches. Teachers were having more time to practice and answer questions, really dig deeply into the work that we were doing in the Teacher Clarity Playbook. Late Start Thursdays came into play as well. We had that opportunity. Thank you for approving that for our staff and our students. It allowed us to have more time together as a team. So working together in those teams, being able to have conversations and see what's working and what we need to do better or how we can collaborate to do that. That continued the work into TBTs. Those are our teacher-based teams. With those teams, they worked on making sure that they had the standards and scope and sequence and structures right. What did they need to change or embed by looking at data? Then they shared that up to the BLT, that was their building leadership teams, and at those teams they were able to discuss building level data and trends that they saw within grade levels and within content areas, and then it came up to the DLT, which is our district leadership team, and there we did the same work, and we did a lot of surveying, reviewing, and getting teacher feedback from this work. What supports did you need? What did you feel you were doing well? What were you unsure about? So that we could go back and follow up with all the work that they were learning throughout the school year. As you can see, mine is very loved and marked up at this point in time for that embedded learning. So within this, the real work we did this year were modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. We unpacked standards and we had intentional lesson planning. So like in module 1, you have analyzed the standards. So they were picking out nouns and verbs. So they were looking at what the standards were for each of the grade levels in their content area, and they were finding those action pieces. What are you naming, and what is the action step that you're going to work with within that standard? So that was the work of unpacking the standards. Then we moved on to more of the sequential work, learning progressions. Do you know where your students are going? How are they getting there? Do you know what the work is that you need to employ with them in order to get them there? And what are those intentions that they're having? Students will learn. So we were embedding I-can statements and learning intentions on the board so that students knew where their learning was going. They could see it and take ownership over it every single day with this process. And then the success criteria. What's going to make a successful lesson for those students? They know where they're going, they know how to get there. How do we make them successful at learning and having all those intentions come to play within that lesson and the standards? We will continue that work next year and revisit modules 1 through 4, and then move on to modules 5, 6, and 7. So it's talking about expectations, getting students engaged, the why, the relevance, really making that learning come to life for those students in that classroom, and making sure that the assessments are driving our instruction. So with our assessments, formative, summative, those are things that are happening in small chunks in the classroom. Some of them are ongoing, and some of them are in totality at the end of a unit to see their success criteria and have they met those goals for those standards. So we will continue to dig deeper into that as the school year goes along next year and make sure that we're still focusing our work on those big 3 pillars we saw at the beginning there, so that our students are very successful in their learning, and our teachers are really starting to take a shift in being excited again about teaching. I mean, you know, obviously past few years have taken a toll on some of our learning, and this engages our teachers again in teaching and why they want to teach, and it's really building that efficacy back up for them, which is then making a greater learning experience for our students. We believe when learning is organized and intentional, and when the learner knows what he or she is learning, great things can happen. And we do feel that those are going to continue to happen as we work through this Teacher Clarity Playbook. The next big work we did this year was with data and assessment. Data-based decision making. Data is driving our instruction. And so we were looking at some big key pieces that we were using for our data within the district and making sure that the teachers knew how to unpack those and hone that data so that they were prepared to say what is working, what is not working, and how they had to go back and reteach or accelerate our learners that were at the top of the learning spectrum so we can keep that progression going across the board. Our data conversations really strengthened again in those 3 components, our teacher-based teams, our BLT, and our DLT. We were continually talking about data, making sure that we had the right assessments for the students. Did we need to go back and revisit things? Were there more things they need to embed in their lesson plans? And they were very focused about all of this. So everything was intentional and strategic around the students' learning when they were having these data conversations. And again, it left nothing up to the imagination. We had the data in front of us, and that was driving all of the work and the instruction that was happening in the classroom with the teachers. So some big things, obviously we have OST data, grades 3 through 12. All tested areas happened this year. We made sure that we were putting a focus on students being prepared for testing. Like, that's a big piece as well too. It wasn't just that this is a testing day, but it was reminding them, show what you know. You know how to do great things, show those great things you know how to do. Come prepared to take that test, get rest ahead of time, make sure you have a good breakfast, a lot of the big testing procedures that we were implementing with our students. We also looked at the centralized reporting system, and this is part of the OST work. So this gives us small chunks that we can give to our students that mirror exactly what the OST will look like. It has some released test item questions from previous years, and we're able to use those so that the students understand the way the questioning is going to happen, and they have more exposure to those standards within the questioning that they will see on the test. There were benchmarks, so we did 2 benchmarks this year, and then we did checkpoints within. With the checkpoints, the teachers were able to go ahead and take those little, like, they were sprints. It wasn't the whole mile, it was just a sprint. They could take those and do checkups to see where the students were at, and then go back and reteach those standards. So again, we were thoughtfully looking at data when it came to understanding the standards. We also have MAP, and we were using that for reading and math. The MAP conversations, they drive around the learning progressions. So where are the students at, where they are going, what does that look like for them, and how do those learning progressions help us understand where they're at. We kind of did like a plotting scenario, and you could see where the students were and where they needed to move to in the quadrants in order to move towards success criteria within those standards that they were working on. And Ames Web was, we implemented that this year. We had previously Acadians, and with that, it is a diagnostic screener for reading, and we've had such great success with it that next year we're implementing it for math as well too, because this is real-time data. The students take the benchmark assessment, and then we have progress monitoring in there. Progress monitoring is very important because we need those checkups to see where the students are at before we're getting to that big testing time. So it keeps us on track with that, and it allows us to intervene early and often with our students with that diagnostic screener. So just a little bit more like I described to you, the CRS, it's standards-based learning, and you can insert those checkpoints and released questions, and we really encourage them with the teacher clarity work to go back into those learning progressions and intentions and put those released questions in there, because that's really going to help the students kind of get hyper-focused on what they'll be looking at when they're tested again. You asked about Edmentum last time we met, and so Edmentum is going to be the product that helps with our personal pathways of learning. So based on where the students are on MAP, that goes into the Edmentum system, and then that creates a personal pathway for the students. So it's something the teachers don't have to do by design. It's automatically there, and they determine the student's pathway, and it gives them extra support with whatever they're struggling on, whatever they need intervention on, but it allows that strategically just for that student, so the two connect together. So that's why we endeavored in that product coming forward this year. And as I said, Ames Web is that quick time real screener, and I put this up here because I was really proud of some of the work we did this year with reading. With our title staff at the elementary level, we were able to pull out with our lowest 10th percentile of students. I think at one of our previous board meetings, Ms. Frimmel talked about the success she's had in her building with her title staff members. And this is a tier transition report, so it shows you where this particular group of kindergartners were in the fall, and in the winter and the spring. And as you can see, the more green, the better. And our students are really making growth. These are those foundational skills that they need for reading. And we see that they're really coming out of kindergarten with a jump start with those foundational skills. So it's been excellent to have this data and be able to inform our instruction with this data. So we will continue to grow. As far as Title I, we currently have 2 per elementary building, 3 at the middle school and 1 at the high school for reading. Next year we are adding a Title I math teacher at each building. So we know, again, we're working on those foundational skills of reading, but we also want to support math, so we are adding that next year. And then instructional coaches are also at each building, and we'll be adding an additional one to the middle school to help support that work with the students. STEM, we talked a little bit about the previous meeting as well too, so we are happy and very excited to have STEM in every building now. So all buildings will have STEM classes. We were working with the teachers this summer to make sure that the curriculum and scope and sequence are built and the learning progression. So they're gonna have, cross-curricular conversations. So where are they going with this and how is it feeding into the next grade level? Mr. Oka is very excited because we were able to purchase many things, thanks to him, for our STEM program. So it's not just starting a STEM program, we are really launching a STEM program because we are able to give them the resources that they need to successfully work with the students. And I can't tell you about a more excited group of teachers that work together at the end of the school year to put their lists together and their curriculum together for their students. And I'm excited. I want to go to all of those classes and see what's happening next year because it's going to be amazing. A couple of things we're adding at the high school, some new classes, and this has been a way of intriguing our students because we know we want to capture what they're interested in, what's important. So they did an interest inventory, and we looked at some of the classes that weren't really taking a lot of students in, maybe needed a little upgrade. So they're adding these classes next year: the Amazon Future Engineer course, a video game design course, a video production and news course, which is part of computer science. And then we're going to be offering beginning Spanish language and cultures classes to our freshmen coming in for 9th grade. So we're really expounding those encore opportunities for our students at the high school next year. A little bit of curricular work, foundations, it's the science of reading. So it's our phonics program we implemented last year with kindergarten. As I showed you earlier, the great results from implementing that in kindergarten. And next year we'll have grades 1 and 2 as well with foundations. The following year we'll add grade 3. Those students need a little bit of foundational background in 1 and 2 in order to do that in grade 3. So we've solidified some amazing trainers from the foundations program, and they'll be here working with our teachers throughout the school year as well too for fidelity checks. We are purchasing more things to add to our science of reading repertoire. That is the new piece that everyone's talking about. I'm sure you've heard about it. They call it the Reading Wars. There's a lot of buzz around it. We are already doing the science of reading. We have Heggerty in place, and that's our phonemic awareness piece. We've got now foundations, which is our phonics, and then we're extending the learning to our small group instruction. So we were able to purchase some items that support that one-on-one small group instruction in our classrooms with our teachers. And then of course we've got some new math and science adoptions across the district. Last year they did a couple of pilots, they narrowed it down to 1 or 2, and this year they're finalizing those decisions within math and science. So we're excited about those things that will happen new and upcoming through this school year. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And we as Teaching and Learning continue to have this as our motto, and we want to make sure that every child has that power to change the world. Are there any questions I can answer?
Thank you, Ms. Bajer, for your presentation this evening. I appreciate you sharing with us the curriculum opportunities and the direction our district is going in teaching and learning. I think we kind of talked about this last time. It's been a heavy lift this last school year, just ensuring that once we had data come through to see where our major gaps were at, I noticed that you guys really took that seriously and really began to explore what is the best opportunities so that we can highlight or get our students to where we know they can. When you talked about expectations, we know our students are able, and so I'm glad that we are putting the resources in place to support the education of our students so that as they go through the Garfield High City School District, they reflect that portrait of graduate, that they have all those components that we promise that we will provide for them as they're exiting out into the next chapter of education. Do anybody have any questions?
I just have one question. You talked about the teachers being excited again. Did you see as you were working with them through the Teacher Clarity Playbook that you began to see that fire and those little sparks begin to pop up again?
Absolutely. This work is good work, and they know so much of it, and they kind of forget that the work they're doing is great, and this is a reminder and a continuum to push them along to continue to do that work and grow within the work. So they were excited, and we want more and more and more. So like I said, every time we did something with them, we took a survey. What did the survey say? It says we want more. We're feeling like this is working in our classrooms. They talked with each other about the success they were having within the lessons and the student engagement side of things. And the fact that we're very clear and we have intentions for our students, like clear as kind, we're up there saying, this is your learning focus, these are your targets, this is where we're going. So when students know where they're going, they also get excited about their learning because they're taking ownership over it. And so we saw that in all facets with our teachers and with our students, with the Teacher Clarity Playbook.
Thank you. And I was happy to see our tier 3 get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yes.
So thank you for all your
It was a
hard
great
work and
competition.
leadership.
Teachers have done an amazing job. They're very dedicated to the work. We appreciate them.
Any other questions? Foundations. I was actually introduced to that as a parent, I believe, for the first time this school year with the kindergartner. And it is blowing my mind at how she's reading everything, even words that she can't comprehend, like this method of teaching literacy, early literacy has just blown my mind. I mean, I'm seeing her like whole world light up. I, attributes to her teachers like, oh, I've seen this sign over McDonald's forever and it says pick up here, and just seeing the empowerment of learning literacy and actually getting it. And I don't know what they're doing, but she's excited about it and she wants to read everything, and she can read, pretty much put every sound together appropriately to read everything. And she's asking the questions like, what does that mean? And things like that. And the way she acts, I can tell that she's just replicating things that her teacher is doing in the classroom. So I'm just, it's like, even over the summer, it's like, we gotta read the books, read the books. And I'm just excited, like she's literally excited about literacy, and I think it really starts at the introduction, and it seems like this program is a home run because I've had other kindergartners come through the district, just didn't have this type accelerating through literacy like this, and just this type of excitement about literacy. As we're rolling this out to the entire district, I do know that her teacher had some previous experience, so she was able to really roll that instruction out adequately. Is our staff prepared to deliver this curriculum to get the maximum outcomes for our student this upcoming school year?
Great question. So with Foundations, as I indicated, we are working with a trainer. Her name is Ellen Brick, and she comes straight from Foundations. She'll be giving that professional development to our teachers to prepare them to teach the lessons. So it's understanding what the lesson looks like, systematic research-based reading instruction. And so it's very explicit. We'll make sure that they understand what that looks like and still be able to put that little bit of a spin onto the excitement with the students. There's an owl, and who's called Echo, and the kids kind of answer back and forth to Echo, so that's an exciting piece to this. But with the science of reading, it's all there. It's just bringing it back to the forefront with the understanding of how to teach that science of reading. We're gonna continue to support that. Thank you for allowing us to have a literacy institute this summer. We had a great turnout last week. The teachers want more and more and more. I've gotten so many emails, and just, they are very excited. Jen Corrado did an amazing job with the Literacy Institute and guiding our teachers. So the more they know, the more they understand, the more they want, and we will continue to support that learning with them going forward with our professional development days and anything else that they're asking for, whether it be like the instruction staff meetings or cafes with the coaches. So we will continue to support all of that.
Is there any other like major curriculum changes that any of the staff just having to get acclimated to going into this next school year along with Foundations?
It's just really the procedures and routines, putting it into place, like I said, with the systematic instruction. It's following that structure within the daytime, students knowing and understanding. There's a lot of repetition to it, so that automaticity happens then with the reading, as you were talking about, being able to sound things out. What are the blends, what are the diagraphs? So again, a lot of good things you've learned probably back in your student teaching days, but we're reiterating it, bringing it to the forefront again. So we will make sure that they have all of those supports and resources. I am also trained in some of those areas of Foundations. Just Words, which is the next step up, we're gonna use some of that at the middle school with our students. And then we have some teachers in the district that support Wilson Reading, which is also our tier 3, and that really hones in on those kids that we need to catch up as quickly as we can.
Thank you. One last question I always kind of ask, and I always make the treasurer cringe. You know, one thing we do know is, you know, more support in the classroom and smaller classroom sizes is the most effective environment for our students to learn, and the most supportive part for our students. The way things are structured, in particular, like in our K-5 buildings with, you know, one thing I like about middle school and high school, that there's some co-teaching opportunities for students with exceptional needs that we necessarily don't have in the K-5. As we're looking at making sure that we have all the resources that students need, is there some goals that the board need to be looking towards, even fiscally, to kind of bridge that gap, to make sure, like, what do we, you know, what do we need, what will we need? I'm not saying we can do it now, but it helps the Board of Education to know, you know, exactly what the needs are of our departments, so that we can begin to look at how we can maybe come up with a solution to provide the best learning environment and opportunities for our students.
So I've had the pleasure of collaborating with Mr. Oko on a daily basis. So from my educational lens and his fiscal lens, we make sure that we're supporting as much as we can, whether it be push into the classroom, pull out of the classroom, and those resources provided for the students. We will continue to do that. We monitor all of the things that we receive from the state as far as federal funding, from the government, federal funding, state funding, allocations, and when those dollars are allocated, we're making sure they go directly to this instruction that we're speaking about. So we're in constant contact about that, and we will continue to make sure that that happens. And as we go forward, if there's fiscal needs or any staffing needs, we would let Mr. Oko know so that he can, you know, make sure the board could take a look at that piece right now. But just implementing the math side of it next year, like, we're really moving in the right direction. You know, because it's not necessarily about the person, it's about the intervention. And more folks that we know how to do that intervention or that acceleration on the other end for our students, the more it happens. So it's just growing in numbers and people to be able to implement these instructions.
Okay, thank you. And I only bring those financial questions up just as very important for the community to know, individuals that make decisions about school funding that's bigger than us, to know where our deficits fall and where sometimes we're not able to provide what our neighboring community schools have the capacity to, because we don't have the money to have co-taught classes in we don't have the fiscal capacity to have aides in, you know, as many classrooms as smaller classrooms. So it's very important, you know, for us as a board to even know where those gaps are at, because we know it's not this system, but we know it's systemic. And that helps Ms. King on her legislative side to do some advocacy, to help our our finance committee to do the appropriate advocacy, so that the students in communities like Garfield High School District, they have equitable access to the resources that the districts have, that their students have the ability to excel, and it has a lot to do with resources. So I do appreciate Eugenia, I appreciate Dr. Reynolds, the whole staff, everybody that does the work, where you guys make sure our students have the very best with what we have. As a parent and a board member, I'm totally impressed, because I know what it takes, and I know what you guys are making happen with all we're able to give you, you know, to do what it takes. So just want to thank you guys for all of your hard work, and we're working really hard, you know, just on some legislative things to make sure that you guys don't have to work that hard to give our kids what they deserve constitutionally. So thank you.
We appreciate that. On the legislation side, Mr. Oko and I even called down to the state already to talk about the new dyslexia laws that we'll be implementing, and what supports we will get from those laws, so that we know it's coming, and what we would need to supplement if, you know, that doesn't pan out with what we're looking at. So we're continually making sure that we're, you know, on top of whatever legislation is coming down and implemented for the district.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and letting me present tonight.
Thank you. Did you give me mine? I'm not trying. Thank you again, Ms. Bezier, and your entire team for your hard work, and I'm excited about the direction that you're moving our students in. I'm so happy my kindergartner is in that green area. One thing you didn't speak of is one thing I am excited about. To my understanding, are you guys preparing a gifted pathway for K-5 next year?
Yes, we are preparing that pathway, actually gonna be going through, the SPED department.
Mhm.
Simmons and Hill's gonna be working on that and supporting that. Obviously just getting it up and running next year, and we wanna make sure we're able to service the students we're identifying. And we do use MAP as one of the identifiers, the screening that I talked about. So we're very excited to do that, to identify the students and give them that acceleration piece.
Thank you. That was a big piece, important piece. At this time, we have remarks from the public regarding agenda items. Ms. Cox, did you have anything regarding the agenda items? You're welcome. The next item on tonight's agenda for the board's consideration is items 7.1 and 7.2, which is the reports and recommendations of the treasurer. Can I have a motion to waive the reading of 7.2 and 7.1 and 7.2
So moved.
and approval?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Okul, is there anything you wanna highlight in 7.1 and 7.2, which is the approval of financials for May 2023, and to approve Anita and Michael Juby donation to the Joe Juby Scholarship Fund?
Yeah, so, still a month, like usual for, May that we're approving. I would say the only thing that you would see in the packet is, two things I wanna point out, is that expenditures are running higher due to tuition payments. It's something that the district has to kind of work with. And then you'll also see a note that came off, about $1.8 million as a one-time, kind of financial tool that was used last year in the district, so kind of throws off some of the reports, given it's a 1 month kind of thing. The other thing is that interest rates are some of the highest we've ever seen when it comes to money market funds, so the district is making decent money on invested cash, which is really just extra money that the district would never see. Prior it was about $40,000 this month. So two highlights, we're getting close to the year end. Next month we'll have the report for year end. We're on target, looks like pretty good, running our surplus like the forecast was looking like. But we'll do all of our appropriations at another board meeting to get that done. And then 7.2 is the yearly Juby family donation to the scholarship fund, which is fantastic for our district and our scholars. So we want to thank them with the resolution to get it approved by the board. So that'll be that.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on items 7.1 or 7.2? I would just like to thank the Juby family. Joe Juby was a long-time board member of the Garfield Heights School District that we lost this past year. And we appreciate his family making sure that he has an impact on the students of the school district through the scholarship fund. So we appreciate them, their generosity, and we just appreciate them keeping Joe's commitment to the students of the Garfield Heights City School District alive, although he's not able to be here to do the work for them. So that is very meaningful and very appreciative, as a board member, a community member, and even a parent of this district. I thank the Judy family for their generosity and just even their love and their continued love and compassion, because when you serve, your whole family serves. So, so we appreciate their commitment. If there's no other discussion on the items presented at 7.1 and 7.2, Mr. Oko, those items were moved and the waiving of the reading of them by Ms. King, and it was second by Ms. Morrison. Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. King,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve and waive the reading of items 8 through 8.1 through 13.1 as presented on tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion on these items this evening?
I'm happy. I think 8.1 is Mr. Sean Whalen tonight, so he's with us.
Yes.
Present, and we are so happy to introduce him to you guys to replace our wonderful Miss Sherry Bailey during the summertime. So he's coming from West Geauga, highly regarded, and do you want to say anything? Shut.
Perfect. As he said, I come to you from West Geauga Schools. I've been there for 25 years. 15 of those years were as a third grade teacher, where I held tech supplementals, supporting staff in that capacity. The last 10 years I've been the tech director. Was really excited to see the teaching and learning presentation today, because obviously our collaboration needs to be really strong moving forward. So it's nice to see that direction and start, wrapping my head around how I can help and support that. But I've been very lucky here through the interview process to get to know the great members of this team. I'm excited to serve this community, excited to be here today. So, thank you very much. Obviously pending your approval. So.
Thank you, Mr. Whalen. Welcome to the Garfield Heights City School District. We appreciate your interest in serving our students in our district, and even our community. What we do here impacts the community as a whole. So we appreciate just you thinking well enough to serve the students of the Garfield Heights City School District. Will anybody else like any comments on item .1 through 13.1? Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Mr. Oko, that was moved 8.1 through 13.1. That was moved by Ms. Morrison and second by Ms. King. Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. Morrison?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels?
Yes.
Madam President, may I have the floor now?
Yes.
Congratulations and welcome.
Yes.
I didn't want to jinx the vote, so congratulations. We look forward to working with you.
Yes.
I second that. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, we're excited to have you. Although we have item number 14, there are no items up under the policy this evening. I'm gonna ask for motion. Can I have a motion to move and waive the reading of items 15.1 through 16.7 as presented on tonight's agenda?
Through 16.1, 16.2?
16 point, I have a 16.7.
Uh-oh, hold on. Oh, yeah,
You got it?
yep, so moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Madam President, I do have a question about 15.2. So, was this not happening before, or was the premium not the same for the treasurer? The-
Or,
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute, 15.1, yes.
so the treasurer has to be covered by either a bond or they can be covered under the district liability insurance. It just depends
Either
on what.
or.
Either
Okay.
or. The resolution, the state requires the board to pass a resolution if you're gonna put the treasurer underneath the liability coverage. The cost is a wash between both of them. The board policy, our board policy has either or, whichever one you wanted
Okay.
to do. So I had the proposal with under the, just under the district insurance. moving
Okay.
forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do it provide equal protection?
For.
You know, just the liability piece, the bond versus the liability?
Yeah, it's everyone else in the district is covered under the insurance policy, so all of my fiscal staff is under the insurance policy. Only the treasurer will be under a bond, or anyone else who's designated, but they would be equally covered under there. Under things, unless it's intentional, then it's not covered, it's different, kind of thing. That's the same with the bond. And it was only $124 increase to the premium, which is roughly what a bond would cost, between $124, about $250, so.
Is there any other discussion? I want to say congratulations again to the class of 2023. The Board of Education wish you well on your future endeavors. Know that you guys, as alumni, we hope to see you guys back and supporting your school district and making an impact on the Garfield Heights City School District. If there's no other discussion relative to items 15.1 through 16.7 as presented on tonight's agenda, Mr. Oko, that was moved by Ms. King and that was seconded by Ms. Morrison. Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. King,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. At this time, we have remarks from the public regarding miscellaneous school items. We have Ms. Cox signed up. Do you have any?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming today. At this time, can I have a motion to agenda tonight's meeting as of 6:54 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Oko, that was moved by Ms. Morrison, second by Ms. King. Our next Board of Education,
That was flipped. Ms.
Sorry.
motion,
that was moved by,
Ms. King,
Ms. King.
second by Ms. Morrison.
gotcha.
Do roll
Hold on one second. Before we take roll call, our next special board meeting work session is on 6 p.m. on July 10th, 2023.
Yes, also next week, next Tuesday at 7:30
I got it.
Okay.
Yep. And that'll be here at the Board of Education. We also have our Board of Education regular board meeting at 6 p.m. on July 17th. On July 17th, here at the Board of Education, correct? I do have a question. Do we have anything pressing on that 17th that we may can push it back a week? I'm just not gonna be available on the 17th because I'm having surgery
Yeah, we can
on
look
the
into it.
13th. So we can ask the other board members maybe possibly so that I can participate. If they're okay with that, I'll be available to attend on the 24th. I'll have clearance to attend on the 24th, but I will not be available on the 17th.
I won't be available on the 24th. I have to teach.
Okay, so we can keep it on the 17th, I just won't be present. You'll be present, Ms. King?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be present virtually. And then we also have a special board meeting scheduled on Tuesday, June 27th at 7:30 p.m. here at the Board of Education office. And that special meeting we will be taking action at that meeting. Mr. Oko, can we have roll call, please?
Ms. King,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. You sign the papers.